Hello, my name's Jose and today we're making flatbreads. I've also got a bit of good news to share with you a bit later on. But these flatbreads, they're cheap and delicious and they start with 2 cups of plain flour. And then we've got a tablespoon of baking powder. And then our salt and our pepper, just however much your heart can cope with. I usually like to add spices or crushed garlic as well, just to add a bit more flavour, but today we're just going with the salt and the pepper. And now our wet ingredients, we're going to start with half a cup of water. Trying to get that as exact as possible. And then a 1/4 cup of milk. I also used to like to use soy milk to make it a vegan recipe, and that also works quite well. And then to finish off, we've got 2 tablespoons of olive oil going into our food processor. If you don't have a food processor, you can simply just use a bowl and a wooden spoon or any other implement and mix that together until a ball of dough forms. But I'm going to put this lid on. I'm going to turn it on until a ball of dough forms in this food processor. I'm going to have to plug it in first. So we've got a ball of dough here, it's come together and it's just slightly sticky, just as a highly produced show would be like with all the power plugged in. We've added a bit too much liquid, so what I'm going to do is add a bit of flour just to help this come together. Not too much, just a bit, and we're going to whiz this up again to see if it comes together. So we've got a ball of dough forming here, and when we touch it, it's not too sticky to touch, so we've got the right consistency there. So I've added another 4 or 5 tablespoons of flour to the original recipe to make it not stick to my finger while I touch it, but still soft and pliable. So what we're going to do, we're going to flour our bench just a bit, get some flour on there, make sure it's a nice clean bench, and then empty this out onto here. Make sure you're grabbing all the little bits of dough here. I'm going to just knead this together just a bit into a nice neat ball, and then we're going to throw this into a bowl. Maybe you have a smaller bowl at home which would be more appropriate to the amount of dough we're making, but that's alright, this bowl will work fine. And then we're going to put a damp tea towel over that, and we're going to let that rest for a little while, maybe half an hour or an hour, which will make this easier to work with a bit later on. Alright, we've had our dough resting for quite a while, maybe about an hour, and now it's nice and relaxed and ready to roll out. But the first job is to divide it into 8 equal parts. That's how much our recipe makes today, 8 flatbreads. And to start that off, I like to roll it into a bit of a log, because that makes it a bit easier to eyeball into 8 equal parts. Flatten that out a bit, and so I've got my bread knife to divide this. So we're going to go into half first, and then half again, and then each of these bits into half again until we have 8 equal bits. And then you kind of roll them together. If some bits are bigger than others, you can simply just take a bit off the bigger one and put it on the smaller ones until you have 8 equal parts. So now we've got our 8 equal balls. I had to do some shifting of the dough between the smaller ones and the bigger ones. But we're now ready to roll out our flatbreads. So I'll put some flour on my hands and start pushing these into a ball. And then I'll also squish them down into a disc. And now we've got our nice floured bench. We've got our disc of dough here, and we're ready to start rolling with our rolling pin. Alright, so we'll start by pushing them out here, and then you can turn that 90 degrees, put a bit more flour on both sides just to make that easy and non-stick. And we'll keep going, and we're aiming for a flatbread that's about 2 to 3 millimeters thick, maybe 3 millimeters thick. And so The time that it's spent resting has meant that it's nice and relaxed and easy to work with. And we're just about ready with this first one. We'll have one more roll out, a bit more flour on there. And then a flatbread, just like that, is what we're after. Pop that onto the plate, ready to go. And then if you'd like, you can put a damp tea towel over that, just to make sure that they don't dry out. And now we'll keep going with the rest of them. Alright, so we're ready to cook. We've got our pan on medium-high heat. I've let it come up to temperature, and we'll just put our flatbread straight in, without any oil or any fat like that, just into a dry pan. And while this is in the pan, why don't I tell you about the good news story that I mentioned before. These flatbreads, they really remind me of the unleavened bread that Jesus ate with his disciples in the Passover meal just before he died on the cross. I know there's a leavening agent in here, baking soda, but they're close enough to that unleavened bread. Now that unleavened bread, Jesus told his disciples, he broke it and he said, "Take this and eat. This is my body." And he also had a cup of wine. He said to his disciples, "Drink this, all of you. This is my blood of the covenant, poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins." Now what you want to see here is bubbles coming up, and we've got these bubbles coming up, so I'll give this a bit of a flip. Get some half decent colour on there as well. Now Jesus, as I said, he said, "This is my blood of the covenant, poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins." And that's really good news, because Jesus knows that all of us as human beings, we're sinners. We've rebelled against our Creator God. Our Creator God, he gave us a way to live, and instead of treating him as our king, we've treated ourselves as our king, or many other things as our king, whether that be sport, our family, our career, our friends. So many other things have been our king instead of God. So we take this one out of the plate. It's nice, it's puffed up, it's got some nice colour under there. And then we'll also just cover that with a damp tea towel. That's really important so our flatbreads don't dry out. And we'll put the next one in as well. And now that sin, we're back into the good news story. That sin is so serious that Jesus, the Son of God, came into this world to die for it. Instead of us dying for our sin, Jesus died to take the punishment for our sin, so that sin could be justly punished. And that's really good news for us. Jesus, he comes into this world and he willingly dies for us. He doesn't ask us to be good enough or successful enough. He simply asks us to trust him. To trust that he has the authority and desire to forgive us for our sins against God. No matter who we are or what we have done, Jesus offers us forgiveness. And that's really good news for us, because that forgiveness is an invitation to have a restored relationship with God forever. Our Creator, God, living with him forever. And that offer is for you, it's for me, it's for everyone. And it asks us the question, will we trust Jesus and his offer of forgiveness? If you have any thoughts or questions about the good news that you've heard today, please talk to the person who shared this video with you, or go back to the website where you found it and follow the links to find the answers to your most important questions. Now this flatbread, it almost looks ready as well. So we'll give that a bit of a flip as well. We've got some nice colour on there, and it's nice and flipped if you want to come in and get a look. And so put that one underneath the tea towel as well. Alright, so we've cooked most of our flatbreads, and I think it's time to taste one. Pretty good. I think it could use a few spices, but I really enjoy that effort. I hope you enjoy your flatbread, and I hope you've enjoyed this good news story.